Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like we have a quorum. So I'm gonna call the joint meeting for the Rules and Open Government Committee and Committee of the Whole to order. Tony, can we have a roll call, please?
Arenas,
Here.
Cohen, Davis,
Here.
Corrales,
Here.
Jones.
Present. Okay, so we're gonna start out by reviewing the agenda for Tuesday, November 2nd. And when we have a motion, could the maker of the motion also include the ad sheet? So we are going to start out on pages 4 and 5. Six and 7. 8 and 9. 10 and 11. 12. And that is it. So I'm going to go to the public. And the first public speaker is Tessa, who's going to speak to an item or items on the agenda. Go ahead, Tessa.
Oh, thank you so much. You're doing a great job. As old people figuring it all out, this technology. Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you. So basically, the issue was one of the things that I noticed that was in that first agenda was about the Zoom meetings and things like that. And one of the things that really has been bothering me is that we don't have participant and chat function, and also we don't get any response from our questions. You know, I was at an MTC meeting about the plan 2050 or whatever it was, and you know, when people mentioned things, then they said, well, let's reply back to those issues. Let's reply back. And wow, that was special. I don't usually get that. And so this is our democratic processes. And especially I felt that the putting the names, the participant names, and the chat function. And I hear, oh, this is like a Brown Act. And you know who's running the whole show is Tony Tabor, because it's all, you know, it's all the city clerk. Okay, but I'm trying to say, okay, stay on focus. I'm talking about our Zoom meetings and how, you know, this is a new technology of how we're doing this. And we need to work together as a community to get this to really work right. And it's not working right yet. And it's all these new ways of us doing things. But we have to include the past and make sure those things that made the past work are still go forward in our digital world, in our virtual world. And that's what's missing, is the issue of the chat and the participants and their names and hopefully their email and way to contact them. That's how we get people power. And we need people power, because right now we are being threatened as the people because of politics and business as usual. And our climate crisis is going to wipe us all out. And the only ones that really care about it are the people. And that's why we need it in our charter to protect us from harm. We need the climate crisis to be front and center in our business, in our charter.
Thank you, Tessa. In the future, that would have been an appropriate topic for open forum. Submit a letter for the public record, and you have other venues to also express yourself on those types of topics. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. I wanted to speak on two items today, 3.3 and 3.4. One is COVID-19 pandemic response, economic recovery budget adjustments. I thought it would be a nice time to remind of the importance of the subsidy process we're going through at this time, and a reminder that for city government departments to make the subsidy process accessible and understandable to the public, what's available at this time, the choices that are available. They're good at that. They need a reminder though, as we all do, and they can do their job better. And from that, hopefully local community can trust the process better and at least be able to feel open to ask questions about it and where we are at this time with the subsidy process. Item 3.4 is about federal immigration reform. This is an item that, you know, it takes practice from myself to learn how to try to be a part of this good cause and good purpose. You know, the fact that we can bring citizenship to many people at this time who previously, you know, they've been here for a long time, but yet cannot get citizenship. That's important, and we've been working on this for like a number of years now, and I'm hopeful for it. And it's from that, as we're doing this important good work, I hope we can start to also be considering, you know, the ideas of the actual border and the concepts of, you know, people can go freely back and forth across the border to work jobs and stuff like that, and we can have good, you know, worker rights practices with that, and develop good practices with Mexico themselves and Central American countries to look at a broader picture. I hope we can be one to do that. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. My name is Chris Logan. I'm organizing manager for Sacred Heart Community Service. And following the reimagining public safety work, and I'm commenting on the memo from Council Members Jones and Jimenez.
Chris, sorry for interrupting. We're
Yes.
actually going to get to that item later on in the agenda.
Okay.
So you'll have more than ample opportunity to weigh in.
All right. Thank you very much.
No worries. Lori?
Oh, I was going to talk about the same item that Chris was, so I'll wait till it's that discussion.
All right. Thank you. Person with the number ending in 4963.
Yeah, Chappie, I think I was going to respond to something that you called out of order on this item, so I'll wait till open forum. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bringing it back to the committee.
Move
Nancy?
approval of the agenda with the ad sheet.
Thank you. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Corrales,
Sorry, yes.
Jones.
Aye. Okay, on to the agenda for Tuesday, November 9th. And we're going to start out on pages 4 and 5. Six and 7. Eight and 9. And that is it. So we're going to go to the public first. And the first public speaker is Tessa, who is going to speak specifically on items on this agenda. Go ahead, Tessa.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, you know, we were talking on this agenda about land use. There's a land use issue. And actually, it was the one that was also on the prior one was Winchester. This is talking about actions related to construction contracts. And we're talking about building and things like, okay, here it is. Okay, you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good. And we're talking about construction and land, like our people's land. And it was in the last agenda, but there's also one here talking about contracts and the money, as the money flows to the city or doesn't flow. I mean, these are issues, how our money goes. And so one of the things that we were looking at is selling our people's land. And this is what's been happening over and over, is that our land is being used. Land use is the most critical thing as we go forward. And what's happening with our land, especially when it belongs to the people, like with that Winchester, no, it was the property on Santa Clara and Almadin. You know, that was critical property. That's the people's property. And, you know, you're selling it to the Axis or whatever it is. And the thing is that, you know, we're losing property all the time. And this is what has been happening. And that is where, you know, I'm having to face the fact that we lost Future Farmers of America program at Lincoln High School. And that, and then like Paul Soto has been telling us, it's the people's land. You know, this is what we're losing. We're losing land as we're building. We keep building and we're losing our environments. And that's what's happening. And so land use is the most critical thing. And when we have to start using our land to grow food, because that's a beautiful thing we can do as a people. And that's what makes us like each other. We have to start loving each other. And when you grow food, that's the most beautiful thing you could do for a fellow human being. And so, you know, that's the issues we're facing is land use. And, you know, you're giving our lands, our public lands. And here was an example that we got rid of Future Farmers of America. And we also got rid of Barrick. There was 7.
Thank you. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. There's items of clean energy and definition of racial equity on the November 9th agenda. Good luck with these items. Clean energy, you know my feelings. The importance of renewable energy and local procurement at this time can set a really important course for ourselves and allow us our better practices through the decade, no matter what may happen in this decade. And to be able to return to our good practices after possible natural disasters, that's important. And I think we should work on that rather than to just settle for, let's just dump everything into fossil fuel and figure it out afterwards. So, it's good practices that keep us to our better selves and get us out of calamities easier. The ideas of definition of racial equity. Um, yeah, this is really important stuff. Paul Soto, I mean, he used to always ask for these sort of better definitions. I'm trying to work towards these better definitions. I hope we're learning a better language to offer what the concepts of racial equity can be. And we're going to be talking about this in an upcoming city charter item that's important to myself and to many others. The ideas of in redistricting, the ideas of equity. I said some words yesterday to try to talk about this issue. I really muffed them. I didn't say them well. I felt the C3 ideas really speak incredibly well to the ideas of racial equity, but it's not fully agreeable yet. And there, I think, with the redistricting ideas, I hope there can be ways, everybody can we can really mediate and debate what can be the best ways to work out of all the good ideas that were presented in all the district maps. And I think we can work on it together and come up with some good ideas. I think the C3 ideas were incredible.
Alina?
Thank you. I'm here to speak on item 2, the Charter Review Commission.
Oh, yes, that's actually.
Is it still? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You'll have an opportunity. All right, that is all of our public speakers. So bringing it back to the committee and Councilmember Arenas. Go ahead.
The item 3.4, the definition of racial equity. Well, I think we were kind of at a cliff. I feel like we left this whole work of Round Gear at a cliffhanger. We had 2 sessions with the council to discuss what the process would look like. We were just beginning to have discussions. Sorry, this light is in my eyes. We were just beginning to have that discussion. And then, of course, the terrible killing of George Floyd, and that provided an opportunity for us to continue the conversation on a social level, but not really at a council level. It's been kind of a peripheral conversation as it relates to how we see or reimagine public safety and various other issues that relate to some of the most impacted communities during the pandemic, and those inequities that have been highlighted because of that. And so I don't know that we're at a point where we can accept a definition just yet. This is a GARE vetted definition, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the definition. I just think that we need a process for us to begin to discuss it, have the first part of discussion, and then actually vetting the definition out with some community leaders in order for us to really adopt a resolution completely. But I don't know what my other colleagues think here on rules. I just would like for maybe have a slightly different process, and instead of adopting the resolution, just begin the discussion of a resolution or a process towards a resolution that adopts the definition of racial equity.
Thank you, Councilmember, and I definitely understand your concerns. Even if we leave it as adopt, we can have that discussion at council and give direction in terms of, directing staff to go back or come back or do further evaluations or come up with a different definition. So there will be that opportunity in council to do that. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah, I guess there could be memos that go towards that. I just, with the end in mind, I want to avoid having a definitive outcome of adoption of a resolution that is just one conversation, as a result of one conversation from the council. And I think this sets it up as such. I totally understand if you want to leave it the way it is, and then those of us who are interested could propose it slightly different. so that we can set up the discussion differently. I just think that if we go into council with this outcome, then this is what, this is what we're going to check off that night in terms of a vote.
Understood. So alternatives, one is to move forward with how it's written and then have that conversation and discussion at council. Another option would be to defer it, or third option would be to change the language. Do you have a preference?
I think to discuss it, I think I like that option, the option of discussing the racial equity definition as recommended by our ORE department. And I think that's a good beginning. I don't want it to be the beginning and the end all in one session. It's quite a big step to take. And while I know that other cities have already adopted this definition, I feel like it's a little premature because we haven't had those discussions, and I just want us to be able to benefit from having that exchange between us, and more importantly, to have the community vet it with us. And so, yeah.
So I need an assist from either Lee, Nora, or Tony. Are we able to just make a change to, like, from adopt to discuss, or are we splitting hairs and, effectively that's what's going to happen anyway? So just, can you give me a little clarity? Don't all speak up at once.
Yeah. Unfortunately I muted before Nora.
Okay.
So, I will say, Councilmember Arenas, totally get your point. And while I haven't been directly involved in the last 2 weeks on this, I will say I don't believe we think as an administration this is an ending at all. In some ways, you're right. We were making all this progress, having conversation with council and community. COVID came and stopped a lot of that and a lot of resources. So in a lot of ways, I think we were thinking this is a little bit of an idea to refresh, but certainly get your point. I mean, from our perspective, I think we've got departments wanting to start embedding this in their memos and their decision making. And I know you've seen that in some of the stuff coming to council. And the request from folks was, well, let's define what racial equity is so that we're all pointing to the same thing. Mm-hmm. I think, at least from our standpoint, the writness, where we need to be is just having that conversation. So whether we're adopting a resolution or discussing it and together with the council and with the community, I think that's the most important thing for us at this point. So Nora, unless there's a legal issue, which this agenda is 2 weeks out, we're fine keeping it with a resolution, but we're also fine discussing it with the council as a starting point as well.
And there isn't a legal issue if we change the agenda language to bring forward for discussion. It can be handled that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Does that work, Vice Mayor?
Yep. If make that change and we'll move forward.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion to accept this agenda with the change of discussing the definition of racial equity versus what is currently the language now, which is adopt a resolution accepting the definition of racial equity.
Second.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
It may ask for some clarification there. Do you want rather than a resolution coming on to the agenda, are you looking just for a staff memo on what is contemplated for a definition for discussion?
Right. And I imagine in the memo, they're already going, because they do a really good job about the background and what has been vetted as of now. And I think, in talking to some, I know that there's been a lot of work among executive leadership in terms of this discussion of this definition. And so I think there's quite a bit of work to talk about and really to celebrate. I think we just need to make sure that we provide a space and opportunity for our council to also gel with this definition.
Absolutely.
All right. Nora, was that what you needed?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that for the city manager's office, since this is their item that they're bringing forward, and our office, that the thought of this committee is to not have a resolution attached, not have a draft resolution at this point, but simply have a staff memo. So that's what it sounds like you want to do, and we can do that, and I think it'll be clear for the manager's office then.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Peralez,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is a joint special meeting agenda on gender-based violence and child sexual abuse. And I will go to the public first, and go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. This item's been on the agenda a lot recently. Good luck in these efforts to work on this issue. I've mentioned before, it would be nice how the work of Councilperson Peralez with workplace counseling issues. He had a item a few weeks ago about that, and how that can connect to this work. Good luck in those efforts. I think that can be real helpful for our future. To speak to the domestic violence and child abuse issues, you guys set up a Santa Clara County committee process for this, I don't know, back in May or April. And I was as yet unclear what the police department role and the ideas of the peer review program was going to be, how it's going to work as a part of it. It seemed unclear. You got the ideas of working with Santa Clara County Valley Medical Center and the YWCA down really well, and that there was good counseling services and prep ready for that. But what about the peer review program for the San Jose Police Department after these sort of after these things happen? You have a report coming from the police department about protocol and reporting of child sexual abuse cases. What will be the peer review process after that? And are you even working on that yet? Because I understand there's a certain vetting to make sure that you're developing a good counseling service and structure for the peer review program. I just hope you're doing those things and making those steps. It seems a really, really important program for our future of policing and counseling services, and how we can mellow out and be open and clear with each other. And that's vitally needed for our future. Good luck how you can work on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tessa?
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the signage you put up, gender-based violence, which I'm trying to understand exactly what that means. Does that, I say, okay, I don't even know what it means. So there's questions there, and we can deal with that later, because I want to get to my point is more important. And child sexual abuse, these are not like minor things, a checkbox, we're done. We've done it. We did that. The council agreed. You 10 who have decided that you know everything. And that's not true. And so what Councilwoman Sylvia Arenas said beautifully is saying, hey, wait, these are big social issues. And I'm not sure that we can just put a check mark saying, and she kept saying, and the people, we want to get the people involved. And this is where we need the people involved, because we've got to figure out how to deal with this real shit that we're dealing with. There's a lot of bad things that are happening. And the worst of it is our climate crisis, because that could put an end. And I want to say something really important, because we did not get a message from the city of San Jose. I did not get a message on my phone. Beware, there's a climate crisis happening. There's a storm coming, stay home. I didn't get that, because you all want us to go out and party and go to restaurants. But the truth is, I did not get a memo from you. I didn't get an alarm. And we've gotten alarms before. And you're not doing a good job. And I said that to Mayor Liccardo when we had our flooding before, that you're not doing a good job. And to say that you got it, you know, we've got it, is wrong. And that we have to extend it to the people. And that's what we're dealing with the climate crisis, even getting into our charter. You know, you guys are all scared because we're talking real stuff now. We've got to really change. And that's what's in the climate crisis, is the science. My husband, Black Cat Wood Nancy, wrote the charter, okay? It's from the science.
Thank you, Tessa. Also, Tessa, can you be mindful of your language? We have really high viewership from the 5 to 9 age demographic. So kids are watching. So please be mindful of your language. Bringing it back to the committee, Councilmember Arenas.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm going to be on my best behavior as well. So I just wanted to, first of all, thank our chair for our PISFIS, our Public Safety, Finance, and Strategic Support Committee, which is our fellow colleague here, Councilmember Perales, for co-leading this effort through this committee. We found this path to be the most effective when we work with our county so that we can have action items that are adopted by the council. And we've been doing this for the last, oh gosh, I don't know, 3.5 years or maybe 4 years, dare I say. We're doing this because we know that we need to look at our systems to make sure that when these things happen, that our survivors or those who identify themselves as victims can have the best end result in terms through a tragic incident like this. And that means from the first point of contact with our police department. And our police department has done quite a bit of work in terms of their own survivor-centered approaches, trauma-informed approaches to our survivors, as well as they've looked at their standing operating procedures, they've looked at their duty manuals. So what all that means is that they're not only just taking a look at how they interact with our survivors, but they're also making sure that those who come after them and those who are trained know what these new practices are, or these evolving practices are. And so this is another meeting that, because the issue is so large, and as one of the residents mentioned, it doesn't end. You're more than welcome to join our PISFIS committee. These issues we discuss this issue. We have a bi-monthly report from our police department, and we continually keep this on the front burner, as we do with all of issues that relate to gender-based violence and child sexual abuse or physical abuse. And we recognize that now our children are attending school in person, and there is potentially an opportunity to support those children who might have not been in the best situation while they stayed at home during the pandemic. So please come and join us on November 5th to be part of this conversation, be part of the solutions. Just lastly, thank you for giving me this opportunity to just expand a little bit about this. I know that you all have heard me talk about this, but I wanted to give our residents an opportunity to also join our journey. So motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Perales,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the cancellation of the January 4th, 2022 City Council meeting. And I'm gonna move to public speakers. Tessa?
Okay, good. Okay, the January 4th, some meeting that you're having. Let's see, is it on the thing? You don't even have it up there. Why can't I see what you just said? That would have been nice on the blackboard. That helps us know what you're talking about.
It's the
But I know-
cancellation of the January 4th City Council meeting.
Oh, you're canceling it. Okay. the January 4th, oh yes, you always cancel it after the holidays. And so, you know, you get a lot of time off and a lot of benefits. And, you know, and what I'm really not happy with, that's why I'm scolding you. And do I feel good about you having another day off, that you don't have a meeting? No, because what happened when we had this crisis that was in our neighborhood, there was a lot of bad things that we needed to stop doing. We needed to stop going to Santa Cruz. We needed to stop going to San Mateo, San Francisco. And you did not put out an emergency. And I didn't like that. That was to me, no, but I'm saying, okay, you're saying I'm not on topic. I know you're trying to get another day off and saying an approval. I don't approve of your work. And this is what I'm saying is that I see that I did not get a notification when there was a crisis. So how does that make us feel trust that we're really getting ready for crises? Because we had one and you didn't alert us. And that makes me mad. And so I'm just trying to make a point here. When you're asking for another vacation day, you know we give you a lot of money and you're doing, you know, whatever you're doing, but I don't like what's going on. And I'm a citizen and I'm paying for your salaries and your days off. And I'm disappointed that I did not get a message when we had a crisis in our community, because you want us to keep going, keep spending, keep going to the restaurants. You're not dealing with our crisis. And that's why it's blah, blah, blah. When you say you have a climate smart team, and we're saying, no, you don't. And we need to, and everything in this meeting is about getting the people involved. But when we get involved, you get involved and say, no, we shouldn't have this. And that's wrong. You know, that's why we have problems the way we are. We're not getting.
Thank you, Tessa. And just for clarification, it's to cancel the council meeting, not to have a day off. Bringing it back to the committee, will I hear any? All right. It's been moved, and was there a second?
All seconded.
Great, thank you. I don't hear any strenuous objections to canceling the council meeting, so we'll go to a vote.
Arenas,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Perales,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the public record. Going to the public, Tessa, go ahead.
Okay, hopefully you're even looking at my letters. I don't even know if you get my letters, you know, because there's so many rules about when it's got to be in and if it can come in. And we have to spend a lot of time. That's what Paul Soto used to say. I spend 30 hours. We don't even know where Paul Soto is. Nobody talks about it, that Paul Soto's gone, you know. And but I always say that Paul Soto gave us the message, which was that we have stolen the lands from the people. And that is the message. You know, and you say we have to stay on topic and things like that. But we are really facing a lot of crises and things are bad and we're not getting the voice of the people, and the politicians are trying to control even the voice of the people because they're threatened and they don't want to hear the truth about our, you know, fossil fuel use or our police abuse, and they want to control it. And so this is where, you know, it's all blah, blah that you say you have these committees, and even, you know, even which we appreciate, Sylvia Arenas, which was the only person that Paul Soto said was doing a good job. And I think she is in a lot of ways. She keeps reminding us, we got to listen to the people. And what we didn't do, you know, we've taken the land from the people. That is the truth that he told us, that we cut off their heads and we took everything. That's capitalism. And that's the way we keep going. And capitalism is threatened by any changes, because that's what bred the economic success we have, is all the fossil fuels that took the place of slavery. It took, you know, we've been abusing people and nature for profit. And that's where we're at. And, you know, we've got to change, and nobody wants to change, except we're going to be burned up and we're going to go extinct, is what everybody's saying. And nobody wants to change. And, you know, we see that here in San Jose. And this is where we're trying to make a change. We're trying to listen to the science, be leaders. Well, then listen to us, you know, and let us have a voice. Because it does, just because you said, you know, you voted on something and created this climate smart, doesn't mean it's working. And we see it's not working.
Thank you. Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thank you for Tessa's words about starting to, you know, give our last, you know, our hopes to the ideas of continuing the city charter process. I have a couple. I have a couple letters in the public record yeah, I hope I haven't, yeah, I don't want to say our last hopes, but I just hope we can offer good hope, good hopes towards the future of continuing the city charter process. I have two letters to the uh, public record that I spoke about yesterday at City Council about the future of how we can better talk about the COVID-19 process and its vaccine process in the future. Good luck how we can work on those ways, and good luck to continued mask use as COVID is apparently on the rise in London, and that means it may be appearing here very soon. I wanted to speak quickly somewhat to the Vista Montana things. I mean, good luck how people can work on things. I hope it can be negotiative for all sides and we can have dialogue and all that good stuff. I'm going to be able to work on a future of a notification process, when these sort of things happen again, like for instance, with the upcoming encampment process. I think it would just, the homeless sponsored encampment process by San Jose. I hope, there can be good conversations with local neighborhoods about that issue, with the people of local neighborhoods, and they can be willing to want to consider it. And a notification process would, I think, help. And it's just good practices. And to learn to practice those good practices together can be of a lot of help, I think, and hope. And finally, thank you for the agricultural item. I think that very nicely the last item can very nicely tie into a continuation of the.
Thank you. Bringing it back to the committee.
Motion and note and file.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Peralez,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the consent calendar and going to the public. Tessa, go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, I've been saying that we need to read the consent calendar out. Doesn't that make sense? And I've seen that at the VTA meeting. You read it because, like Paul Soto said, who we don't even know where he is anymore. And we need to learn from him because his words were so valuable to us. He spent 30 hours looking at the agenda. And, I don't always have 30 hours to look at the agenda, but I'm sitting here listening to this meeting. I'm on the phone. I push my button. There's a lot to do, that a lot of people can't do that are old. And so I'm, representing the old and the way, it needs to be. And, you're transitioning to a virtual world, but not doing that well, and so I'm seeing the problems that you're, as a teacher that I am, that you're not doing a great job of doing this. And so, you should read the consent calendar. So maybe to remind me of something that yes, I didn't like that, and I don't have the 30 hours to do that. That's too much to ask of people. So you need to do your job better and take the time to just read the items instead of showing us the pages like that means anything, that we can capture it if we're lucky. And you like us not knowing what's going on. And this is the problem. None of us have the time like I do. And you're wrong. And you need to change that so I can comment on it and address the issues that are really at hand, which is what you're doing. And everything you're doing is wrong. And that's what we have to start talking about. And, we're not doing that. And everything you're doing is wrong. And we need to vote, have the people make decisions for themselves. And I actually am suggesting that. I realize I have a chance to do that when you talk about we're going into realignment of our districts. I want them very hyper local and to have local control, because that's how we have,
Thank you. Bringing it back to the committee.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Peralez,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Charter Review Commission work plan. And we are going to go to the public. And for all the members of the public who wanted to speak earlier, now is your opportunity. And we're going to start out with Tessa.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I asked my husband, what he thought of having that letter coming from the vice mayor and Sergio Jimenez, and he said is that they weren't expecting such a good plan because they got the public, they got Cat Woodmansee to write the Charter Review Commission. We got that, okay, and he's saying that we've got to look at every department and what their fossil fuel is, and then we have to, on top of that, we have to but we have to share it. That's really critical. Share it with the people, and also mitigations, how they're going to reduce their fossil fuel use. That's what he's suggesting, and I'm not hearing that. I hear nothing from the Climate Smart. Very difficult. And they even canceled the program, and they told us it was something to do with equity, $1 million project. Whatever. I've spoken to them. I've spoken to Climate Smart, and have been very unhappy when I found all they were doing is going to car dealers to figure out how to electrify our fleet. And that was still, we have to degrow. And then, that's where I know Climate Smart isn't doing a great job. And then for you to say that it's redundant is not true, because we have a climate action. It's called the Climate Crisis Action Team or Commission. And that is going to require every department to look at their fossil fuel use and have processes for mitigation. And then it's got to be transmitted to the people that you have to be accountable to. And I love that. And of course it has to be in the charter. We have to have that accountability. And that's what we're talking about. And that's in our charter. And it's one of the appointed positions is the one who does the, to make sure we're on track. And we need to make sure our climate action is really on track. And that's the people's agenda. That's what we're trying.
Thank you, Blair.
Hi, Blair here. Bob Brownstein at previous public meetings of the city charter has clearly stated the purpose of affordable housing measures with the city charter is simply to offer some broad perspectives, guidelines, and understandings that can be of help towards better decision-making for the everyday community in San Jose in this next decade. These are affordable housing ideas that can offer a wide range of flexibility and that can address ideas of neighborhood equity, reimagine, green sustainability, and even local Ohlone traditions and practices. I'm feeling the ideas, I'm hoping we can have a continued study session from the city charter process into the early spring. Its ending could coincide with the beginnings of the Equity Roundtable, the SJ COVID-19 Economic Forum, and the ongoing work of the Reimagine Community Safety Commission. This could offer organized important concepts and a focus to the beginnings of these new commissions. To conclude, I also feel it's important to better learn and develop what can be good-minded open public practices for the possible subcommittees of these 3 future commissions as well. The upcoming commission processes, I just think they have to be organized and focused in understanding what the city charter is working on and developing. And I think we need a bit more time to work on green sustainability ideas and equity and its relation to Ohlone issues. I think those are incredibly good topics that we can talk about and to have as a good starting point for these upcoming commissions. And I just hope you can allow an extension of a few months. And there may be work to want to place things on the charter, maybe not. But it's broad strokes of good guidelines that is the idea here. I hope you can be open to this thinking and more conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Elena or Elena?
Thank you, Alina. I wanted to speak on this. So the infrastructure of our democracy under the U.S. Constitution is supported by the federal, state, and then followed by counties and cities. So on a local level, that infrastructure is replicated via our city constitution, our charter, voted on through election by the community. So following the policies and ordinance to implement and build upon the city charter. And I disagree with your memo. And, as an example, I think that, Article 19 on urban sprawl was added to the charter, even though there's already a general plan, codes, an entire planning department and planning commission. Therefore, following that same notion and logic, I don't think it's duplicative to add sections on police, climate, or housing, which is further supported by various departments, boards, and commission. What a charter amendment would add is a guiding light, an umbrella for which all these efforts are gathered under and working together. But we aren't there yet. We're still in discussion, and we've been studying with experts, people with PhDs representing, institutions and other areas of the U.S. for the last 11 months, going on over 100 hours of meetings. So I really urge the council to let the Charter Commission finish their work. Do not change the rules on us last minute like this. It's not fair. Work that impacts our future generation, especially in regards to climate, which is, the San Jose Climate Program only focuses on electrification, as Tessa had already illustrated. And, council, I feel, should be rejoiced and supportive rather than divisive of our efforts in using censorship tactics to remove our constitutional right to discuss these items. Under the California Constitution, Article 1, Section 3, the people have the right to instruct their representatives, petition government for redress, which these items are definitely part of that, grievances, and assemble freely to consult for the common good. And I think we have been attending these meetings, doing public comment, showing up for all of the things, and we're doing everything by the rules. And I don't think it's fair that you're changing the rules last minute and taking away our right to talk about these items. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Yes, thank you. This is Chris Logan, Organizing Manager for Racial Equity Action Leadership at Sacred Heart. I'm reading a letter from the steering committee of the Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee. We are writing this correspondence to communicate our dissatisfaction with the ways in which City Council members and staff have interfered with the work of the Charter Review Commission regarding public safety and community oversight. On September 7th, 2021, City Manager Jennifer McGuire issued a memo to the chair of the Charter Review Commission positing a conflict between the work of the commission is doing and the work of the Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee. This memo was issued without the benefit of correspondence from anyone on the RPSCAC. On September 13th, 2021, many community leaders took time out of their busy schedules to voice their disagreement with the city manager's assertion and urged the Charter Commission to continue their work on police oversight recommendations. In the memo dated October 27, 2021, a similar memo was issued by Vice Mayor Chappie Jones and Council Member Sergio to the Rules and Open Government Committee, again without the contacting anyone on the RPSCAC. We believe that this is a waste of government time and resources and disrespectful to the time that community members have spent on this process. This Charter Commission has already done the work, held public meetings, developed solid recommendations, and received public input. It was not a secret. The council had time to make a clarification in scope, and doing it now makes it appear that they are just trying to silence the public and commission on the issue of police accountability. You may be pleased to know that members of the RPSC, and actually I'll stop here because Kiana, steering committee member Kiana, will follow up with the rest of the letter.
Great, thank you. Maria?
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Fuentes, and I am a member of the Charter Review Commission. And as you may know, because we received a letter from Vice Mayor Cappy Jones and Councilmember Sergio Jimenez on Friday, we did not discuss this at our meeting. I am going to assume that you, this committee, the Rules Committee and the City Council, are not intending to change our work. As you may know, we've spent thousands of hours researching and working on the topics that we have chosen, and we are hoping to be able to complete our work and submit it to you according to the deadlines that were required in November, complete our meetings, and also submit the report in December. Especially, I want to emphasize that it would not be duplicative. Duplicative means exactly like something else, especially through having copied. Our work is not duplicating anything else, and we're focusing on the charter along the topics that have been identified according to the direction we were given. And I think the only thing that I can appeal to you is to realize that our democracy, has been stated already, allows the communication and expression of the public, and in particular with our elected officials. So with that, and also please explain to us what is meant by the intent and the language of the letter before you take action. Thank you.
Next speaker is Lori.
Hi, thank you. My name is Lori Valdez, and I am a member of the steering committee on the Reimagining Public Safety and also on the Accountability and Reform Committee. And I want to inform you how displeasing it is to me as an impacted family member of this community that the council members that wrote those letters would try to defeat the purpose of what the Charter Commission and the Reimagined Public Safety are trying to work with public safety, policing, accountability, and transparency. It seems like you have been complicit. You guys have condoned to that pattern of behavior, and you don't want to see the charter change to make a difference. You know, there's families, there's children in our community who are left fatherless. And none of you are recognizing these children. These children are suffering. You're talking about trauma that other kids suffer, but you don't care about the kids that the cops kill their parents. So this work needs to continue because there's a lot of people in our community who've been impacted, and it is not duplicate. The Charter Commission is doing work that needs to be done through the charter, and we are in unison with them because this is something that has been needing to be done for a long time, but it's always put in the back burner because you're so complicit with the police, or you guys are afraid of the police unions, whatever the case may be, and that's not right. The people should be heard. And if not, if you don't care about the people, our most vulnerable, our children should be at the forefront of these discussions and make sure that they grow up in a community they feel safe, because they're growing up fatherless now. So we need to hold these officers accountable, and these commissions, that's what they were signed for. Or were they just to pacify the community after the George Floyd? This is what I don't understand. Let the people do the work. Let us have the say, and you guys just back us up. It's time for you guys to stop using your power to continue to defeat the purpose of the people in our community who want to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Lavery, or I know I messed that up.
No worries. My name is Lavere Foster, and I'm representing the African American Community Service Agency. And I'm also a member of Reimagining Public Safety Committee. And last month, 30 community-based organizations wrote a letter asking not to block the work on police and oversight by the Charter Review Commission. And a lot of these organizations also represent Reimagining Public Safety Committee. I'm now going to read a list of the 30 organizations that want you to stop trying to block the work of the Charter Review Commission. These organizations are Sacred Heart Community Service, Loaves and Fishes Family Kitchen, Law Foundation of Silicon Valley, Asian Law Alliance, Bill Wilson Center, Building Back Better, Family Supportive Housing, SJSU Human Rights Institute, NAACP of San Jose, Silicon Valley, ICANN, Our City Forest, Project More, Ujima Adult and Family Services, Vietnamese American Roundtable, San Jose Taiko, Black Leadership Kitchen Cabinet of Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, National Compadres Network, Educare California at Silicon Valley, West Valley Community Services, Hero Tent, Silicon Valley Debug, Coalition for Justice and Accountability, Amigos de Guadalupe Center for Justice and Empowerment, Vegilution, Peninsula Family Service, Home First Services, Somos Mayfair, African American Community Service Agency, La Raza Roundtable of California. The work from the Charter Review Commission is already completed on the topic of police and environment, and they're now moving towards voting. Lastly, I just want to say that this is a community issue, and as such, should have a unified approach by all of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavere. You didn't miss any organizations, so you got them all. Next is Andrew. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I agree with the previous speakers, in that it's very discouraging to have the Charter Review Committee work on all these issues and then just at the last minute be told that these issues aren't appropriate for the charter: housing, police oversight, climate change, and others. The charter is the foundational document for our city, and if these are the issues that the community believes haven't been addressed sufficiently, then it shouldn't just be up to somebody inside the city government vetoing it because I don't know why it's inconvenient to talk about or something. Climate change, police oversight, housing, these are things where we're behind on. These are things that are not fully addressed in plans. The Climate Action Plan, just having a plan doesn't address climate change. We're not on the path to a sustainable reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions. Police oversight, that issue is even further behind. And this is like, I see this over and over again. This is like in the culture of San Jose, that when we don't like what the residents are doing, we just ignore it. You just have this brick wall put up. And people are putting in a lot of time and expertise, and it just isn't right to not have that reflected, in the city's documents. I urge you to do what the committee is recommending and incorporate what the community has brought forth for reforming the charter. And that goes for the general plan too. The general plan is missing components like pollution. There's nothing about any kind of pollution, air, noise, light, anything. And please listen to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Kiana?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. My name is Kiana Simmons, and I'm a steering committee member on the Reimagining Public Safety Committee. It is ridiculous the way that city officials are now trying to undermine the people's work already in progress. And as Chris was saying, we have been following developments of the community oversight discussion with the commission and have prepared input to present the commission members. One of the members of our steering committee, Lori Valdez, has already solicited feedback from families that have been impacted by police violence and have prepared recommendations to submit commissioners regarding this process. We are in a crucial moment within this country, an unprecedented opportunity to address the forms of systemic racism and oppression that have plagued people of color for centuries. Any undue outside disruptions to progress led by the community are disrespectful. Disruptions from elected officials and city staff are intolerable. We respectfully request that you stay out of the way of the people's business. Again, the efforts are not duplicative. We are reaching different audiences and operating on different timelines. If there are procedural rules that are in question, we request that you review them in light of the overwhelming support of community members to get this done. And again, my name is Kiana. Other members of the steering committee are Darcy Green, Jamal Williams, Micah, Tarab, Tamara Hall, and that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Tobin?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, great. Okay. First of all, I'll begin by disclosing that I currently serve on the Charter Review Commission, and I'm speaking today as an individual. My comment is entirely my own perspective and in no way represents the commission or any other member on the commission. With that, I'd like to, first of all, thank you, Mayor Jones, and also Council Member Jimenez for your guidance to the Charter Review Commission. Also want to express appreciation to City Manager McGuire for her advisory memo to the commission last month. In retrospect, I do believe the commission could have been more clear or given more clear direction. And also, I think the memo that's under review today could have been submitted sooner. But nevertheless, the commission still has 6 or 7 weeks to complete its work, and the guidance in this memo has the potential to help the commission ensure that its recommendations focus on the council's prioritized issues and are thoroughly researched, analyzed, and formulated. So for that reason, I encourage the Rules Committee, to approve the memo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Molly?
My name is Molly McLeod, and I am glad that the Charter Review Work Plan has included policing. I recall being at the Mexican Heritage Plaza in January of 2017, where there was a meeting looking at the powers of the independent police auditor and pointing out that the charter was the only way to make changes. And since San Jose was on the forefront of having the IPA win after the Rodney King beatings, so much time has passed since then. And in fact, the council invested time in a study session that I recall participating in as well on policing. And so the recognition that this is part of a charter review work plan actually is something that the council has acknowledged and I think is important, not to waste the time and effort that's gone by. They are two different things. One, the accountability part versus the important work of reimagining and considering alternatives to the alternatives to the way things are that result in the same effects over and over and over in terms of who gets locked up in jails and who gets harmed and hurt and killed. There is an important part in that on people with disabilities. Those who are incarcerated or people with disabilities are the biggest minority of those who are in jails and prisons. I'm really appreciative for Sandra Asher's report that'll be coming forward. It includes information for a town hall that I helped set up on October 7th for people with disabilities to give impact. Yes, our voices need to be heard, and in the charter, to put a chilling effect on this work doesn't seem in alignment with the values and the work that's been invested by the council itself. So I'm opposed to the memos submitted by Jones and Jimenez. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Okay, I'm gonna butcher this. Ihoma? Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Ilma Mazzernini. Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you better now. Can you? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'll try it again. Yes, my name is Ihoma Mazzernini. I'm the Director of Compassion and Justice Ministries at the
Hey, Ihoma, we're gonna put you back in the queue. You're breaking up.
Okay, hopefully
we'll have better reception. All right. All right. So next person is Kari.
Hi, yeah, my name is Kari Crawford. I am a member of the public, but also a student and an African-American male, young as well. So a lot of the issues that come up in this charter matter to me, right? Particularly, you know, as I think about like what's on the charter in terms of police oversight, you know, I just have to say, it rings of this conversation, these types of conversations that just keep coming back. I hate hearing when people pull the line of, you know, like, why did you bring up race, right? Because, you know, that old Shakespeare quote, a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. Do I have to say it out loud for it to be racist? Do I have to say it out loud for it to have effects on people who live the experiences that, of course, I'm going to live, and I'm sure many other people in my position do, right? And I guess the same thing applies to the climate issue and every other issue on the commission. When I think about what it takes to, you know, like go about solving these issues, and I just like, I think about how like the whole system that we participate in leads to us being here in this context where I have to talk to you guys about what's happening, and how the whole system needs to change before we don't have to have this conversation, and I don't have to be in this position, you know, in relation to you guys, right? And that work only gets easier when you start taking the first steps, you know? So what I'm really hoping is that, you know, we take that first step this time. And let the Charter Review Commission do what it needs to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Veronica?
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica Malor, and I'm also part of the Charter Review Commission. And I'm here solely on my own as a community member. And just like previous speakers had mentioned, this is very disappointing. You know, I spend a lot of time, not just I, right? Our community has spent a lot of time getting the education. We've all gotten the education. We've brought different speakers. We've done research together. We've heard community. We've been in community. And really, we've drafted so far, and we continue to draft amazing recommendations, I think, that are going to benefit our city now and in the future. And I think with that in mind, right, I want to keep us going, of course, and continue the work that we're doing. And not sure what it's so scary. We're an advisory board. We don't make decisions, unfortunately. We're an advisory board, and I'm not sure why that became so scary. We're not sticking to our timeline. We have those recommendations ready with community input as well for the council. So I do, once again, I am here as a community member, as a mother, as a person with a child that have disabilities that I know that are impacted and will hopefully not, but are potentially can be impacted by the system because they're children of color. And again, one more time, this has taken community time. What you all wanted was to hear community, was to get the community input, and we did. We are doing our best, and we will continue to do our best. And you stopping us and having to direct us or having to spend this extra time, it's just disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick?
Good afternoon, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Frederick Ferrer. I'm the chair of the Charter Review Commission. Today, as my fellow colleagues, I'm speaking as an individual, not on behalf of the commission, because we did not discuss this issue. I want to thank our council member and vice mayor for their memo, and I want to recognize the hard work, the serious study, the extensive hours, and the public hearings and the public comments that have come before our commission. I'm especially pleased at the interest of our community, and especially in particular, personally, the nonprofit organizations and members of REAL who have really followed our work as well as made comments along the way. And I think it's really made it better. But my fellow commissioners have worked hard and have done an incredible job as a commission. My hope as the chair, but this is my personal hope, is that you include the recommendations from already studied questions, including police oversight. My pledge is to help facilitate the discussion so that we do meet the deadline of December 4th, which is what we were planning on doing. And since our focus is on the charter revisions, I think this is just the beginning of the conversation when you receive our recommendations. This is much of the work is coming from the community and with the community. And so I think it begins the dialogue when it goes to council. And then it also can go to the other commissions and committees, such as Reimagining, which will then I believe will be the content for their deliberation. I want to thank you for the consideration. My pledge is to continue to try to facilitate this, this commission as best possible. And I ask that we get to include the recommendations of the areas that we've already studied. And thank you for your consideration today.
Thank you. Person with the number ending in 5140.
Yeah, if you want to, redo law enforcement, you need to get rid of the administration, the people who have desk jobs making $500,000 a year as captains and lieutenants, people that they don't need to be armed or sworn officers to do, right? You need to have people out on the street at nighttime when the crime really happens, okay? Not an administrative staff that has bankers' hours Monday through Friday, but somehow is able to do all kinds of overtime and everything else to make a lot of money, and meanwhile the residents suffer. right? I've been told for 10 years they don't have enough money to
Michael?
staff
Michael?
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. I'm not quite sure how you're connecting this to the Charter Review Commission.
We're talking about law enforcement funding. Right?
Not directly.
Well, really not true. Everyone else talked about it.
They didn't talk about law enforcement funding. No, they talked about the Charter Review Commission.
About reimagining the police force, they talked about, right?
Yeah.
They talked, yeah. Okay, so okay, all right. If it's okay for them to talk about reimagining the police force, I'm going to reimagine that maybe we shouldn't have so many administrative staff on duty armed at a desk behind a computer. Okay, that's what I'm going to reimagine. But I'm going to reimagine that the Southern Division, where I live, is going to have more than one person overnight with the largest area in San Jose with crime going on like there's no tomorrow. I'm going to imagine that. Can you imagine that, Chappie? Can you imagine that for me? Maybe you guys, City Council, could try to imagine that. Let's imagine that. Let's imagine more people on the overnight shift when all the crime happens. Can we do that?
All right. The person with the number ending in 4963.
Yeah, hi, Martha O'Connell, in the vast minority here. I fully support the memo from Jones and Jimenez. I have watched many meetings of the Charter Commission, and I have been increasingly disturbed by what I would characterize as mission creep. So I support the memo. I think these folks need to be reined in. And I would also like to point out that these folks are supposed to be making it clear when they call in and use their title, which many of them have. Most of them did not say, I'm speaking as an individual. Some of them did, but the overwhelming majority did not. So folks, those rules apply to you as well as every other commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Lewis? Go ahead, Lewis.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Barocio. I'm a member of the Charter Commission. Thank you for having public comments on this topic. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself and not the commission. The commission has diligently been working on the 5 directives from last year's memo in terms of creating this blue ribbon commission. Mayor, council election, trying to see my time. And government structure accountability, and the 5th directive, by design, additional measures that will improve accountability, representation, and inclusion. And I say by design because it is meant to be broad and vast, so perspectives can bubble up and surface. Since we haven't had this sort of commission happen in years, I think that was the intent. Commissioners, council members, you could correct me if I'm wrong. And secondly, I'm thinking that this is the approach also by design, by having more of a democratic perspective inform our charter. With that said, we have had a lot of outstanding speakers come to our study sessions. We've had professors from Stanford's, University Woods Institute for the Environment, Parallel Institute from Hawaii, professor and director of their Institute of Climate Change. We've had local public activists and climate scientists, teachers that come to speak with us. Brian Corr, the immediate past president of the National Association of the Civilian Oversight and Law Enforcement, and broad array of commissioners and inspector directors from BART, Oakland come and speak to us. So we're very informed, and we hope that you will deliberate at session and not stop now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ahima?
Hello, my name is Ihoma Umez Ernini. I am the Director of Compassion and Justice Ministries at the River Church Community, a member of the PAC Beloved community team, and also a part of the Reimagining Public Safety Committee. I wanted to underscore what Mrs. McLeod stated. I want to wholeheartedly support the Charter Review Commission, as well as to disagree with the Vice Mayor's letter and the Councilman's letter. The work of the Charter Review Commission is both valuable for the community as well as both needed. And police oversight unequivocally belongs within the Charter Review. My experience with working with strengthening the IPA, the establishment of the IPA, has unequivocally determined that police oversight must require an expansion or a change in the charter. So this work is securely within the Charter Review Commission's purview. I want to also underscore that this work is not duplicated across other agencies because the Charter Review Commission uniquely must do that work. So I wanted to point out that Measure G was passed by City of San Jose, overwhelming support, 77% of citizens support it. We support revising the charter to include police oversight. We support the work that the commission is doing, and we are wholeheartedly in disagreement with any attempts to thwart it, to stop it, and prevent it. So I just wanted to unequivocally represent myself, my church, the various communities that I'm associated with, in supporting the Charter Review Commission's work and recommending listening to them, heeding their advice, and particularly over police oversight. That is a mandate that Measure G has shown that the city needs and wants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, RK.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, my name is Rupini. Once again, city officials are trying to stifle the months of work that's been done by the Charter Review Commission and community organizations to push for increased police accountability. The public clearly rejected the previous memo by the city manager to try to stop policing oversight from being considered by the Charter Commission, but it looks like the Vice Mayor and Council Member Jimenez has not taken the hint that the public is no longer going to allow the city's silence on harm committed by the police with impunity. We want all community-driven efforts to hold police accountable, whether it be by RIPS or the Charter Review Commission, to move forward without any further meddling by the city. To me, it looks like city officials are trying to take a coward's way out of facing the community and taking a public vote on police oversight that the people have been calling for. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Dr. Sherry Segura.
Good afternoon. I'm calling in as a resident, but also happen to be on the Charter Review Commission additionally. In no way do I speak for the commission, but rather myself as a community member. We're making a recommendation in 2 weeks. We're at the end of our process. We have followed all directives by the chair and the process and are now at the end. This is disrespectful of our time, thoughtfulness, and commitment to the community to, at this late stage of the game, say you're not going to study what you're at the end of the process in. I am absolutely not in favor of the letter submitted by the Vice Mayor and Council Member Jimenez. I also, like Ms. Amador said, I also do not understand why people are so afraid of being educated, involving the community, and listening to what voters and this city wants. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller 925.
Hi, my name is Magnolia Siegel. I am a commissioner on the Charter Review Commission, the Subcommittee on Accountability, Policing, Inclusion, and Municipal Law. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself, disagreeing with Vice Mayor Chappie Jones's memo. Vice Mayor, we have spent since the beginning of January 11 months of our lives working on what you told us we're allowed to work on, which included policing and coming up with solutions to mitigate the climate crisis. That was something that you said we could work on. It's the 5th mandate. We've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on this in subcommittee meetings, in actual meetings, talking with the community. We're done with our process. We've spent 11 months, we're done, we're now voting. We're voting on 11/15. So you are asking the entire city council to block the vote because we're done with our process. So you're gonna be getting all of our recommendations on Friday. And we would have rather, most of us wouldn't have volunteered for this if we knew it was only about giving the mayor more power, changing the election time. It was really this fifth mandate actually helping the city with its climate crisis, that, and as well as the policing oversight crisis. We are the weakest in amongst all of our neighbor cities. That's why we volunteered. We're done with our process. We are at voting. So if you don't like our recommendations that are coming out on Friday, it's okay. Please vote no publicly, but don't block our process when we're at the end of it. We've done what you said. We've worked with all of the community, and the community wants us to vote, and we would like to vote.
Thank you, Sandra.
First, I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak. Second, I would like to thank City Manager Jennifer McGuire, Councilman Sergio Jimenez, and Vice Mayor Chappie Jones for their memos on the topic of the Charter Commission. The main focus of the Charter Commission, from my reading, was to focus on the election cycle and the powers vested in the mayor to be increased, etc., or not increased. The commission has, in a sense, overstepped its bounds. It has done wonderful work and gotten great input on several topics, but on some of the topics, the input has been very biased. Having listened to several of the committee meetings, there was no representation from the police force or from a police captain or any police input on the police oversight. And they are a major party in that discussion. And so some of the presentations have, in a sense, been biased. And we've spent, and I've seen them spend very limited time on the powers of the mayor, which was one of the top two items we focused on. I would really like to see this Charter Commission get focused on what they were asked to do and prioritize, as has been asked in both of the memos. First of all, again, thank you. I appreciate their time, but we need them to focus on what was the primary mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy.
Hi, thank you, Councilmember Jones. My name is Darcy Green. I'm a member of the Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee, Steering Committee, and I'm calling today in support of the letter submitted to you by our Steering Committee and in support of the Charter Commission. I am passionately opposed to your October 27th memo. Important work has already been done. Public meetings have already been held. We've developed solid recommendations and received public input. It does not make sense to not allow this work and recommendations to continue at this point in the process. So late in the process to try to thwart these efforts doesn't make sense if it were not an effort simply to interrupt the process and silence public voice around the area of police accountability. As a member of the Reimagining Public Safety Committee, I can tell you that this work is not duplicative. This is really beneficial to our process as well. The work being done by the Charter Commission in the area of public accountability is not a duplication of efforts. The work of the Charter Subcommittee was not done in secret. This committee and the City Council had ample time to make a clarification in scope, and doing so now makes it appear that you might just be trying to silence the public and commission around the issue of police accountability after the work has already been done. I am urging you to please reconsider this memo and allow for this very important information to continue in the public discourse. Thank you.
Thank you. Black Outreach. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Pamela Emanuel, and I'm the Vice President of Black Outreach. Time and time again, this community, we the people, have stated our needs and demands, and time again, the public, you public officials, have tried to silence us. What a waste of emotional work and time so many of us have put in to stand our voices and state what we want in support of having a charter review to review police cruelty, and to also state what we want to see in our own environment as well. If you guys give us these spaces to build out a working process that we want in order to improve our city, for you only to take away and shut the door on our community agreements, is honestly, it's disgraceful. The tyranny this meeting is upholding is baffling. And really, it's acting in the same stroke as a dictatorship. This community, we will be heard. And if you all try to denounce that, we will do our due diligence as community members to remove you frauds who claim to be in political power to support the people in our environment. But what you're doing is really just trying to silence us to pass your own hidden agendas. This memo needs to be readdressed and it needs to be refocused. I yield my time.
Thank you. Catherine? Go ahead, Catherine.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, good. Okay. My name is Catherine Matthewson, and I speak as a K through 12 San Jose graduate and a San Jose resident. I have a biology degree in landscape architecture and environmental planning and master's degree from Berkeley, and was a former professor. I have a 43-year-old business which creates natural spaces for birds, bees, butterflies, and healthy soil biology. There are many ideas on climate, which I have written, that need to be discussed by the Climate Crisis Action Commission and need to be considered in San Jose, and we just are not doing them. The Climate Crisis Action Commission is not redundant with San Jose's current Climate Smart program. Do not block the vote to remove the Climate Crisis Action Commission. This commission is on a charter level, and is made up of non-employees of San Jose. So it does not duplicate the work the city is doing, as council members Jimenez and Jones argue. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That is the end of public comments. Actually, we have one more. Mikhail?
Thank you. I wanted to weigh in with many of my colleagues and friends. My name is Mika Estremera. I'm on the steering committee of the Reimagining Public Safety Working Group. I'd urge you, Councilmember Jones, to withdraw your position and to permit the work to be finished and communicated to the full council. I won't be repetitive, but I do want to add something, and that is that I do believe good governance is about fair process and participation, and I hope that you will allow fair process and participation by allowing the work to be finished.
Thank you. Now that is the end of public comments. I want to first of all thank all of the members of the public who came out and spoke. As you can tell, your voices are very loud and clear. And if there's any feeling or perception that your voices are trying to be stifled or restricted, I think that you've proven that that's not the case. There was a question about what was the motivation behind even issuing this memo. And that was because there were concerns around the commission getting the priority work items done on time. There were also issues that came up around scope creep, as well as duplication of existing efforts. The purpose of our memo was really to raise these concerns and provide more clarity and expected outcomes. based on a lot of the public comments, there really should have been a process early on in terms of having this kind of clarity, because several speakers stated that climate change, police reform, or reimagining community safety, housing, and other issues were part of the original direction of the council. And the original direction of the council was governance structure and the election cycles for the mayor in the odd numbered council districts. We did have an additional clause saying consideration of additional measures and potential charter amendments as needed that will improve accountability, representation, and inclusion at San Jose City Hall. So even though it was somewhat broad, it was also somewhat specific in terms of the parameters that we wanted the commission to explore and look at. Now, the process took place. Several other initiatives came up, and I respect the fact that the commission has spent countless hours and a lot of hard work on working on those items. And I have no intention nor a desire to have that work just thrown out, eliminated, stifled. But my goal is to have this commission prioritize the direction that council gave and get that work done. And then if there's additional time to work on some other things, then that's possible. But even though some folks feel like this is the 11th hour or it's very late, there was no good time to have this discussion except at the beginning. Now that we're close to where we should be finishing this process, we have to step in as a council. As part of our responsibility and duty is oversight and providing additional input and direction to the commission to make sure that you get your primary work done. And if that happens, then again, if there's additional time and bandwidth and resources to work on other items, then you should be able to do that. But we will have to make sure that your core function, core mission, core direction is completed and accomplished and provided to council. So on that note, I will, I see Councilmember Paulus has his hand raised. So go ahead, Councilmember Paulus.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vice Mayor, and appreciate some of the description or background there. I want to add a little bit myself, just for those that may not be completely aware of where this direction all came from. As you put in your memo, there was a pretty lengthy discussion in late July of last year, and I'm very familiar with it because the initial suggestion of a charter revision commission came from me, and the topic that we had been discussing at the time last year was placing on the ballot a number of governance related items and powers for the mayor, some campaign finance reforms. It was quite a conglomerate of items being put together. And my experience, or I should say my knowledge of how major charter changes to our governance structure had been conducted in the past was that they had gone through the process of a charter revision commission. And rather than move hastily with some pretty large changes to our governance structure, I felt that it was more wise to go the route of forming a charter revision commission and allowing that charter revision commission to spend some time understanding, vetting out the different options, and then ultimately bringing forward recommendations to the council. Then we could decide how or what we might want to put up on a ballot. And indeed, the primary directives were as you described, Vice Mayor. There was that additional sort of third line item that left open the opportunity, and that the main reason for that was so that way we did not confine potentially some ideas around participation of our community and really trying to better governance structure here, and restrain the Charter Revision Commission from looking into those. But it did not at all specify other areas that have now been brought up and identified by the Charter Revision Commission that I would agree with you. There seems to be a misunderstanding as to what some of the parameters or specifics were in regards to the goals of the Charter Revision Commission. And so I think a bit of it has gotten either confused or carried away. But I would also agree that we are sort of towards the end of the process here. And I understand the frustration that I heard from a number of our both participants in the commission and community members and those that are participating in our Reimagining Public Safety Committee as well, and recognize that when you see a memo come out and don't necessarily have context to it, and then now have an opportunity to speak to it, especially if you're towards the end of your work on an item, that where the frustration comes from. So I actually want to see if we can bring up the chair, Fred. I think he's still on the call. Is that correct? And sorry to put you on the spot here, Fred, but and I don't mean to state that you're speaking for everybody on the commission, but you are the chair. So since you're here, if we can bring Fred up, and I wanted to ask him a question. Fred, are you able to unmute and can you hear me?
I can, council member.
Great, thank you very much. And again, I apologize for putting you on the spot here, but thank you for participating, obviously in the process and then participating today. There is obviously a goal that we have in regards to getting recommendations based on the core elements that we had asked of the Charter Revision Commission, getting recommendations before we break in December. And I think you're aware, but maybe not everybody is, but as to why we have a time limit on that. The reason why is because if we're going to put something on a ballot to the voters to change the charter, especially if we're going to do something that may potentially change some of the structure and makeup for the next set of elected officials, including our mayor that gets elected, we would need to do so at the earliest convenience, which would be this next coming June primary election. And hence why, I just wanted to make sure, and I think obviously you're aware of that, but make sure everybody is aware that that's the reason for this time limit, is that we specifically needed to get some things done in time, so then that way we can actually put something on a ballot and educate voters about it. So just the main question is, are you poised to complete that work and bring forward those recommendations? I would actually personally hope it would come a little bit before December 14th, because that's when the council's supposed to debate it, right? Giving us maybe some time to look it over. But are you poised to do that?
Yes, council member, we are, our work plan calls for us to be finishing our work in November and turning in our work so that it can be posted on December 3rd, which then will be able to get to your December 14th deadline. So our work plan is to do that. We are able to make the recommendations on the core issues that were raised in the original institution memo. I see no reason that wouldn't. In fact, we've already sent you one set of recommendations where the public and others gave us input that it was even more timely in terms of the election of the mayor. So that has already gone to you as one recommendation, and the rest will be coming on December 3rd as we conclude our work.
And so then any additional recommendations you may have that are sort of beyond that core scope, you also expect to have that completed so that the council can deliberate that on the 14th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, I think that's it. I mean, for questions for you, Fred, thank you for coming in. I too personally agree. Concerned through the process on some of the expansion of what the Charter Revision Commission was looking into, but I think if there's an interest to bring forward some other recommendations, so be it. I'm not concerned so long as the original asks are being answered and being met, and it sounds like that's the case, and that's obviously what we're hearing from the chair here, that they're willing to commit to that as they had before, and any other additional recommendations they may want to bring forward with that will also come at that same time. So I guess I'm hearing from the chair, I'm not concerned that they're not going to meet that deadline and that we will have an opportunity to debate those items. I'll go back to asking our vice mayor then, just considering what Chair Ferrer just said, that it looks like they're going to be able to meet that deadline. What is your thought then in regards to some of your recommendations here and maybe next steps?
So if they are going to meet that December 14th deadline, then it actually makes some of our recommendations a moot point. So I recommend we just move forward with my memo. They're going to come to us on the 14th with their recommendations, and as a council, we can make a decision from there in terms of the path forward.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not as concerned, I guess, at this point that they're not going to meet the deadline. And even if they've gone, beyond some of the core scope, it looks like at least they're going to incorporate that. And as has already been, brought forward, as I've been following as well, some of the recommendations from the core asks that we had. I think if they want to bring forward others, we can then decide on the 14th, where the best placement for some of those requests are. I also want to stress one other item, that this format here, this commission, is not necessarily the only place that the council can generate ideas for revisions to our charter. And in fact, our Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee likely is going to be bringing forward several suggestions, their own, that may require charter changes. And even though their title of their committee is not a charter review commission, indeed, some changes may require charter amendments. And so I just want to make it very clear. I think there's also maybe some concern that this, the work of this charter review commission is the only place that that one can make some solid suggestions on changes to the charter. And that's just not the case. And actually, we're hoping, I know I'm hoping personally, that the work that comes out of the Reimagining Public Safety Committee, it does actually include what things that may be broad enough to be charter changes. And it sounds like obviously they've been working closely. And I did follow that response from the Reimagining Public Safety Committee at our Public Safety Committee, where they responded to that letter from our city manager and stated that they were comfortable with the Charter Revision Commission's work and what they might look into, and obviously could learn from that. And I would agree with that. I think that hopefully that's where those recommendations can land, and ultimately when that body is done, the Reimagining Committee work is done, we can incorporate some of those. But time sensitive wise, the issues that are most time sensitive were those core issues that we asked the Charter Review Commission to look into and to have completed by this December. And I think that's where we really will have to make some time sensitive decision on come December 14th. Anything outside of that, I think we certainly have some wiggle room on where it goes. So I guess I don't know if it's maybe it's more harm than good at this point to sort of move forward with the memo that you've authored with Councilmember Jimenez, considering that it looks like we'll get there, we'll sort of get to the finish line that we had hoped, and then on the 14th we can decide what to do next, versus maybe provide what there already seems to be is some lack of clarity and uncertainty about what this memo means or what it would do. And I would agree some of it would be a complete moot point if indeed the commission is going to conclude its work. So at the moment, I won't be able to support it moving forward. I do appreciate again, the guidance and the clarification and the encouragement of the commission to be able to focus. And it sounds like they will be able to do that, and I have confidence in that their chair Ferrer's answer. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Arenas.
Thank you. Some of the questions that Councilmember Perales asked actually clarified some of what I was wondering. And I'm just going to pick up where he left off. And it sounds like the work that this commission was set to do, or the two major scopes, are going to be completed in the time that we expect for them to be completed. And is that the top priority for you, Vice Mayor, in terms of if there was something that you wanted to get done in this memo, would that be the number one?
Yes, yes, it would, Councilmember.
Great. I think that there is some benefit to one of your items in the memo says, direct the city clerk to provide additional guidance regarding city resources and funds to support the Charter Review Commission. Resources include assigned staff and are to be prioritized to provide support as it relates to governance structure and election cycles. And I'm reading that not because you don't know what's on your memo, but just so that everybody else that's listening to us can follow what this item refers to. I also am of the same mind. Councilmember Perales just stated, it looks like we're on track. I don't see any efforts on your part to halt or stop any of the work that's being done. You said so yourself. And that's not the intention of this memo. I think what we can do here is a happy medium. Maybe what we could approve is item number 1 and item number 3, and leave the item number 2 that says regarding other work being done by commission, consider additional measures and potential charter amendments. So leave that piece out. But I'm wondering what I don't know if I would get a second to that. So that's my answer.
Well, I'll second it, council member, because actually I was going to offer that up as a compromise. So I'm very comfortable with that.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you. I think with what we have as item number 1, Lee, is there anything that sets the Charter Review Commission off track under item number 1? You're on mute, sir.
You're on mute, Lee.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, technical difficulty. That might be a better question for Tony. I don't believe that would, based off of the information we have on what the Charter Commission is doing right now and the timeline that Chair Ferreira just went over, I wouldn't see that recommendation 1 would distract the Charter Review Committee now.
Yeah, this is Tony Tabor, City Clerk. I don't know if we're not doing item 2, I don't know if the resolution itself actually needs to be revised. I think it is good to reinforce the deadline to say, we definitely want it by these 2 dates. But it does say in the direction here to amend the resolution establishing the CRC to prioritize the 2 major scopes of work. So I don't know if we need to amend the resolution. We could, that's the attorney's office. So this is, Nora may need to weigh in on that, or Mark, if Mark's on the.
Listen, I don't want to add any additional work that may delay this. So just to steer clear from this, I think just move forward with item number 3. Which provides additional guidance regarding city resources and funds to support the Charter Review Commission. And so this actually provides some support to that commission. And so I'll edit my motion that way. and
I can second that.
And does that include item 4 as well?
Would hearing this item at count, I don't know that we need item number 4, because if we've figured out that this is not going to be off track, I think it'll just create another conversation that will lead us back to this same place. And this same place is that this commission is on track with those 2 major scopes that were assigned to them. And so I don't know that it's going to lead any different, Vice Mayor. So I'll leave my motion to just move forward with your item 3.
Okay, and it was seconded by Councilmember Perales. Councilmember Davis?
Yeah, I just have one question. Are we as the Rules Committee empowered to make that direction that's in item 3 without the entire council? I mean, item 4 is just making sure we're hearing it at council in the second. So I'm not clear that we have the power to make that direction to the city clerk without the full council voting on it.
That's an excellent question, Councilmember Davis.
This
Nora?
is Tony.
Nora?
Yeah, I think this is a city attorney question. I mean, I as the city clerk, I understand the direction, and we're on track for that too. I do have a staff person who is prioritized to support it. I've already pulled the budget to make sure we're staying within budget, and this is directing us to just stop by the end of December, which if everything's on track for the December 14th meeting, that's automatically going to be part of it.
Nora, does the full council need to weigh in on this, as I think they do?
If there's going to be direction to the city clerk, yes. I was just going to ask her if she thought these things were already going, if she needed additional direction. But yeah, if there's going to be additional direction to the city clerk, that does have to go to the council.
Okay. So, Councilmember Arenas, I think this does need to go to council, so I would ask that you would add a referral to full council.
But aren't we the Open Government Committee already? So doesn't that qualify us to provide direction to the city clerk, Nora?
Well, it's coming out of council direction and the original council memo. I think the answer, as I understand it from the clerk, is that she's doing these things already in 3, but because it goes back to that original council memo and the original direction from the council, that's in the resolution that established the Charter Review Commission. It really does need to go back to the council.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, Tony, what I understood from the clerk was she was doing both of these things anyway, or she thought she was on track with both of these. Is that correct, Tony?
Well, B says all committee work within the commission shall cease by the end of December 2021. If we're saying, we're doing the December 14th is the drop dead last day, the commission report, then that automatically will mean all the committee work is going to cease by the end of December. If we were to take this back to council, I think I'd want to include something from item 1 to just complete all research by November 29th, have recommendations submitted to council by December 14th. Don't say anything about amending the resolution because we're not changing the scope of work. We're just establishing in writing that deadline. And then also you could do 3 at the same time if it's going to go to council. I don't know if it's needed to go to council at this point because
it's being done.
If you're telling us to just stay with the work plan we've already got approved to finish in time, at the end of November, then the budget automatically will stop being spent by the end of December?
Okay, so it sounds like everything is comes back around, and it sounds like none of these recommendations are then necessary. So I'm going to retract my motion from moving the memo. I was hoping that it would be helpful, but it sounds like this is on track, and I have the assurance from our city clerk, and it sounds, from our chair, that this is moving forward. So I'm just going to retract the motion completely.
Tony, I'm just trying to understand, wouldn't it, obviously we all have the expectation that, the work will be completed by December 14th, but, things happen like everything else, right? So wouldn't it be helpful for us to at least have some dates that the council votes on in the event that,
I think it would
the best laid plans don't work out?
I would say that it is helpful to establish that expectation. We have had several requests to extend beyond November 29th. So I think it is helpful to bring forward November 29th is the last day you're to vote on it, because that gives us a few days to transmit it to council for the December 14th. I don't think it hurts to establish those dates. We're definitely not extending because these are the dates that have been approved. We have, Fred has remained firm, I have remained firm that we want to have everything done for the December 14th meeting. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to have that approved, those dates.
Yeah, Councilmember Reynolds, I know your hesitancy in terms of rehashing this conversation, but I think it would be a different conversation just by establishing.
Vice Mayor, I'm taking myself out of this conversation because I put myself in the conversation, and then this all unraveled because it sounds like everything is on track. I don't know that I could support anything. Listen, I think we're at the tail end of this, and I want to protect this process and the work that has been done by our commission and our chair here as much as possible. And I think that any interference from us at this point will create maybe some havoc. And so I think if we have this assurance from Tony, from our city clerk, and from our chair who's leading this effort, that I think we just leave well enough alone. Otherwise, I think we are going to create maybe having them go off track. And I do not want to be part of that at all. I want them to stay on track. I want them to help us out with these two scopes, and hopefully with the others that they've thought about, and integrate them into whatever our city manager's office thinks is appropriate, or our council thinks it's appropriate. But I think for now, my focus is let's get to that deadline.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Prowlis.
Yeah, thanks. And appreciate the dialogue and the clarification. Based on what I was hearing Tony say, it sounded like recommendation 3 also is sort of already included, but yet she is saying that maybe further clarification would be helpful. And I guess the reason why is because there have been some expressed interest of maybe continuing the work past December. And I would agree that, if we can clarify that this was expected and should end by December 14th, and that's what we've heard from the chair, that their recommendations will be submitted as expected, then kind of going back to my initial statements, I don't think there's anything else that we have to do. And I guess I'll ask this. If the Charter Revision Commission did decide, say, over the next couple of weeks, hey, we would like some more time, would they not then have to, the council would have to take that up, right? That they couldn't simply just carry on into January because there's no authority to do that right now. And that's a question maybe for Tony and then city attorney.
The direction at the meeting where the Charter Review Commission was established We had set December 14th as being the day the report needs to go to in front of council. So that also is an attorney interpretation of whether that means we can submit a report on the 14th and then say, oh, but we didn't finish these other items that we wanted to, so we want more time. I don't know if we can just automatically do that. That's attorney. I know December 14th has been my deadline from the beginning of this commission.
Okay, that's more helpful. So, and we haven't had that request just yet. Obviously, it sounds like, Tony, you're saying some people have expressed that, but we haven't had that formal request. It does sound like that the chair of the commission is stating that they'll have the work submitted before that date, and so we can make some decisions on the 14th. But maybe there is sort of a possibility looming out there that there's an interest to maybe carry on in some of this additional scope that was not within the original direction of the establishment of the Charter Review Commission. And I would agree that if we were to do anything beyond the work that gets completed by the 14th, that should merit its own conversation as, you know, on its own from the council, and not necessarily just be brought on because there was some scope creep and the work should continue. So I you know, respect that and understand. I think that's where maybe Vice Mayor, you're trying to set a definitive sort of deadline on some of the work, and not necessarily look at the extension of this to go into an unknown time frame or deadline. That we'd really like the work to be completed as was expected this December. Again, I have full confidence in the chair's answer that will be done. And so I do think at the moment, the requests are, you know, maybe preemptive or unnecessary, and what it's causing is some consternation. I would rather say hold this type of recommendation and, you know, and only necessarily bring it up when we have to, if indeed the Charter Review Commission over the next couple of weeks said, hey, we'd like to do something different. But I'm also not against sending a you know, a clear message in regards to, hey, you know, this is exactly, you know, what we'd like to see, what we had originally asked for, and we had originally asked for it to be completed this December, and to make that statement rather clear. I don't know if, trying to read over your recommendation 3 here, it essentially says that, and that's essentially what the clerk is looking at right now. So I think that's fine. I think we could move forward. I can move forward still and to support recommendation 3. I don't necessarily know if it needs to come to the council next Tuesday. I don't know if there's necessarily a rush on that, but you know, I'm okay with that further clarification. Again, I'm also okay if we don't necessarily make any definitive actions now, because I do think it is a little preemptive, and that's likely why we have some frustration. So I will not make a motion.
Okay, I was on pins and needles, Raul. I didn't know which way you were going to go on that one till the end. So that's Councilmember Arenas. Oh. Okay, so we had a motion that was withdrawn, and we didn't have a new motion. So this item is not going to move forward at this time. So on to the next item. All right. The next item is update to the August 2021, June 2022 Neighborhood Services and Education Committee work plan.
Motion to approve.
Okay. And
second.
And we have 2 members of the public. Tessa?
All right, good. Well, you know, as I sit here and to listen to your conversation today, you know, I'm just evaluating the whole classroom scenario that we have, which is now our virtual classroom to have our democracy. And, you know, I just, even didn't know, like when you're talking about first one, second one, there wasn't really pictures of what you were talking about. Luckily, I have my little iPad and I can follow along, but it's a lot of complexity that, we need to build it into the curriculum that is our city council meeting. So that's what I'm talking about, is that you have to do better. Like even your names, you should say who you are. Not that, you're Sylvia Arenas. I mean, I need to know you're the city council member of this district, and that could be on your card, to make this a classroom that's very educational. And so makes it easy for us to participate, more of us. And, even when I go to see who's there, a lot of you aren't even there anymore. And then I don't understand that. And then there's no real participation list. And even when I go to the transcript, it just says chamber. That doesn't help me. So it's really not good what's going on. And, as we go forward in our, having our democracy to be online, because this is how it should be. It's safer for us. And this is how we should be doing it. And you're not doing it because you want it all business as usual. Everybody running around and spending gas and money and money, money, money. And anything that deals with money is evil, really. That's the expression. Money is the root of all evil. That's a truism. So, basically, I'm saying we need to listen to the people. And I'm glad that I think that's what happened. So I'm happy for that. But, neighborhood education and education going forward is what we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of great work with that Charter Review Commission. And so we need to keep going with it. And so we're getting a lot of good information. And that's what we need as a community to change in terms of the great changes we need to affect our change, to live as a species because of our climate.
Thank you, Blair.
Hi, Blair here. Boy, that was really heavy, the last item. Just thank you for everyone's work and efforts. Item 3 of the last item, the memo, it offered the chance that we can work on the issue as a commission, and the commission can make some of their own choices. So thank you for the memo writing and our options and choices to work on this issue, on the charter issue. About this NSE stuff, you offer some interesting programs, a homelessness annual report and rent stabilization program strategies. Thank you for the homeless annual report. What was talked about yesterday with the housing land to try to consider encampment issues and the possibility of government-sponsored encampment issues. Good luck in talking with, to create small encampments and to talk with local neighbors in local neighborhoods and get their feelings and opinions how this sort of system can work. People have been working on this for years. The safe parking program has worked fairly well. That can give some good examples how we can do this well, and it could offer good protection for people. It can offer people services, which will be really important and meaningful. And about the rent stabilization ideas, boy, good luck with the you're creating some COPA ideas that we're trying to all understand. Councilperson Perales has offered that we can have continued dialogue on the subject, that I'm hopeful how we can have that sort of dialogue and all sides can take a listen to what we can be doing with this future. Good luck how we can work on these things.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. I understand that, why things get delayed, you need time to incorporate the impacts of the pandemic into the unhousedness annual report and the rent stabilization program strategic plan report. But the problem is by months, to February and to May respectively on those topics to not discuss them. I just wish there would be, the item should still be there, but perhaps be just scaled back. Rent stabilization, is one thing that the city's policy is definitely inadequate. Thank you, council members Raul Perales and Sylvia Arenas. I believe you are among those who voted for stronger rent stabilization. The I believe we ended up with a 5% allowed rent increases in San Jose, and that is just not, it just does not protect people. That is double the rate of inflation typically, and so you're still by policy displacing the most vulnerable people with that. In Oakland, San Francisco, East Palo Alto, Mountain View, I think many other cities have set the annual rent caps to the rate of inflation. That means if those cities are saying if you're a vulnerable person, you're low income, and it's no fault of anyone's that they have low incomes. You know, this is by design, rigged economy, that there are extremely wealthy people and very poor. And the policy needs to be that we set the rent and it doesn't go up over time. Please consider that as a future reform of the city's policy. Thank you.
Thank you. The person with the number ending in 5140.
You know, all this talk about the unhoused. Did you ever think about the people who are housed, who inflation and taxes and regulations from this city is causing problems for people who are ordinary citizens? You know, you never ever hear a thanks the taxpayer to pay for all these programs, like these unhoused programs that you drone on and on and on for hours. Be lucky I'm bored to tears to be able to listen to all this stuff. I got something to do listening to this, and it's ridiculous. I'm so glad that I'm able to listen to know how the sausage is made, because it's ridiculous the amount of money, and not just it's the time and the gushing about these wonderful people that you're going to help. I mean, we need to open up mental hospitals again, not just keep showering all this money on these pie in the sky programs that are crazy. I mean, if anything, you're going to need to build these things away from city areas, because these people are a disaster everywhere they go. It's unfortunate they've got mental health issues and drug problems. It's terrible. But why should they be living amongst us, causing all these problems with their camps and everything else? Then you're going to put them in a shed or whatever you're going to do. It's not going to work. And by the way, you guys let people badmouth me, and you don't cut them off or reprimand them like you do me. Now, the people who don't like me, that's fine, but they need to follow the rules just like I do, or I get kicked off, or I get blocked from calling in or cut off, or I get lectured about what I have to do because I mentioned somebody else who called in, or God forbid, say something bad about a city council member. But you guys let it happen. Tony Tabor, you should be on top of this. There's a woman who calls in who said,
all right, then. Going back to the committee.
There's already a motion and a second.
Okay. Tony?
Arenas?
She had to step away.
Okay. Davis?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes, I think Arenas was either the maker or the second of the motion, so maybe we just clarify myself and Councilmember Davis.
Okay. And then Jones?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Last item is open forum. Tessa?
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Like, I've learned so much from going to the Charter Review Commission, and there's a lot of they've done a really great job of educating us on a lot of interesting things. And this is really a great service to our community. Been very educational. Like, we got to listen to somebody from LA and how they run their police department. And it was much more, people engaged. And I was just talking to my girlfriend, and it was very, very scary, is that she's Black, my girlfriend. And, her children are dark skinned, and they got a 16-year-old got stopped by the police, and because she ran away or whatever, and it was very, very, very mistreated. And it was like, wait, who do I call about the way this daughter was treated, the 16-year-old, by the police in like Richmond or whatever. But it was like, You know, we really need commissions to really deal with these issues. And that's what you heard. And, you know, yeah, you didn't hear much about the climate because nobody wants to talk about the climate. And, you know, but it's really coming down hard. You know, we're having emergencies. And like I said, you did not notify us. That is a sign that things are really bad, because that's all we're talking about is protecting the people. And you didn't protect the people because you want us to keep going in capitalism and consumerism. And you didn't want to let us know. I didn't get an alarm, beep, 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 like we did throughout COVID. I didn't get that. Say, stay home. It's an emergency. You didn't do that. And this is why you don't, you know, this was what happened. We were in a state of emergency, and we need to get ready for states of emergency, and you're not doing that. And then you want to stop our communication about it, which is just to document what's going on. That's the only thing we're proposing. And you'll most probably write it off. And that's what the whole thing was about. Ha ha. When you come with yours, we know we'll reject those. So don't worry. The main thing is politics and economics.
All right, thank you. Next speaker is Blair.
Hi, Blair here. I've learned a lot from the city charter process this year. I hope we can think of it as not so partisan, but as needed functions for ourselves. I learned that the commission process is, I think it was initially established as kind of a public entity. It was a public revolution, you know, to have a commission process for the good of the public. So I'm a bit concerned that the commission process, subcommittee process, is not being given enough public support. It's been very closed because of the VTA events in May. I think we're trying to learn how to open it up. There's 3 really important commissions coming up in this next year. I hope that we learn how to make the public process for the subcommittee process open and accessible, and all the steps we can do to do that. I hope we can learn how to do that at this time. It's important we work on this now. To quickly offer, you know, there's a November 15th vote on the environment issues for the charter. I hope that, you know, they may need to go on into the next year. I hope that can be respected. And to also note, with 30 seconds left, I don't know if it's quite the job of the Reimagine Task Force to work on the future of legal definitions of the charter. Why not allow the Charter Commission to work on those things and grant them a bit extra time? I hope I don't hurt Reimagine person's feelings about this, but it can be a way to continue the charter process with actual factual, you know, how does the future.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Jones. I'd like to comment on the upcoming Viva Calle event on November 7. I attended the previous one a couple months ago and was totally astounded by how just fantastic it was to see so many people there out on the streets, which are normally, you know, just not safe even for people driving cars to use. The streets are so wide, you know, they were built for large amounts of car traffic, something that we really absolutely need to not continue maintaining. So at a previous meeting, I recall you were discussing Monterey and Kirtner. Just throw one out there. There's 8 lanes on both Monterey and Kirtner going into the intersection, and that's the problem. When you have really wide streets with lots of lanes on them that look like a highway, people drive on it like it's a highway. And that's why 50 to 60 people get killed in car crashes every year, and why the city continues to generate enormous amount of greenhouse gas emissions. That's not going to change with a transition to electric cars. Electric cars still produce a huge amount of greenhouse gas emissions in their manufacture. And so what we need to do is have narrower streets. We need to have fewer lanes dedicated to that car traffic. The Viva Calle event brings a possibility for people to imagine a different future. And I wholeheartedly support these events and would like to see more than 2 of them per year. One thing that for sure needs to happen is fewer police officers at the events. It's totally unnecessary to have such a massive police presence, and it's very expensive. San Francisco and Berkeley don't do it that way. They use volunteers. Keep up the good work with Viva Calle. Thank you.
Thank you. The person with the number ending in 5140.
Yeah, I'm just trying to ride on the last thing I was talking about of people bagging off to me. You guys are prejudiced towards me. It's a double standard. And I want Tony Tabor to know that. You guys cut me off early, by the way, too. You guys like to cut me off. You guys let other people, and I let other people badmouth me because I'm making the right people angry. I like the attention, okay? But I can't do it, right? I'm not allowed to do it. So if I can't do it, nobody else should be able to do it to me. Right? Do you guys understand that? You guys understand the double standard you have for caller 5140? You know you do. You all hate me down there. But this is my 2 minutes. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a voter. I'm a resident. If you don't like what I have to say, that's too bad. I mean, you guys don't do anything for me anyway. I'm just a squeaky wheel trying to get the grease, that's all. But I want to know one thing. All these, you guys like the rotunda? For all these different groups of people. When's the last time you've done it for Italian Americans? You know, you took away the statue out of the rotunda, right? Sam said there was going to be an Italian American Heritage Week. Never happened. But we like that rotunda for everybody else. For everybody else. And by the way, don't be afraid to say Christmas when it's coming up. You guys like to say holiday. We mention every other holiday of every type of religion there is, which I love, by the way. I'm not against any other religions, but I don't like mine being left on the back burner and just happy holidays when you people get paid for Christmas. You guys get paid overtime if you have to work on Christmas. So, you know, don't be afraid to say the holiday you get paid for, right? Don't be afraid. There's Christmas in the park. You guys say that. You guys tried to get rid of that back in the 90s. Didn't work. It backfired. All that to say, once again, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves the way you run this city. You should be ashamed of yourselves how you treat me, no matter what I am or what I.
All right. On that positive note, this meeting is adjourned.